What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down what moved it, and if today was a buy the dip type of day or not. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound did go down 5.17%. Market just closed roughly 2 minutes ago, 937 the low, 1017 the high. So SoundHound and the broader market we're doing rather okay, and you can kind of see a lot of institutions were actually buying SoundHound up, which is relatively good first thing, but market kind of had other plans that did bring it down, and that was because of this. So the 20-year bond auction, there was virtually no demand whatsoever, so meaning they did have to increase the discount rate, and that came in at 5.1% for a yield. So that is kind of freaky, caused a lot of warning signals to kind of pop up, because essentially if you ever do have to increase the discount rate, that also does lower the present value for future earnings. So kind of the multiples that are placed on a lot of stocks. This is why you did have a little bit of a, or more than a little bit, but you did have a pullback today. At the same time, that does also affect the borrowing costs. So kind of affects a lot of growth stocks. So this is why SoundHound and many others on my watch list did get hit. So whether this is a good buy the dip type of day or not, I feel it kind of was, only because big money wasn't really selling. So even though SoundHound did close 5% in the red, a lot of there was basically two sells today. So institutions weren't really doing all that much at the end of the day, no different than yesterday. So I feel like algorithmic trading was one of the biggest culprits on why a lot of the market did go down. But still, I think the writing was kind of on the wall a little bit that there was going to be a pullback today, because on my Patreon, I did post this. So I always analyze kind of the largest transactions on through options every single day. And I even did bring up this, that there was a lot of bearish options yesterday, which was kind of rather weird, but I did signal this, that short-term puts flow suggests that market participants are bracing for a pullback or volatility going into the summer. So at the end of the day, big money, they just probably were looking for some reason for a pullback, and that 20-year bond, yes, it does kind of hit the growth a little bit and probably affects Trump's bigger plan, but is it a reason to kind of sell everything? I don't really think so, but I don't know. Let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Aside from pretty much that bond, the 20-year bond auction that caused a lot of disruption, there was a couple of Fed speakers, but nothing of substance to really bring up. SoundHound didn't have any news, no SEC filings today. Social media, they seem to be fairly active, so they are at quite a few conferences right now, and so I think that's kind of a good thing. So this one stands out because this is their forte, so the Auto Tech 2025, so this is going to be between June the 4th to the 5th, so they are planning quite a lot out there. Still, I believe at the restaurant show, I believe this should be the last day, if I remember correctly, but nonetheless though, they're at least still continuing to get their name out there, so there a lot of good momentum for that. For shorts, they did increase 203,000 shares. So all in all, that's not that bad. For those of you that have been following SoundHound for a while, days like this, shorts love, and they tend to increase like a couple million shares. So them increasing 203,000 is rather timid if you ask me. 31.29% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 114.25 million shares overall are being shorted. Through IBKR does indicate 450,000 shares is available to be shorted. So if they wanted to, they could have utilized all of the available shares and doubled down, but they didn't. So I see that as somewhat optimistic. Again, take that with a grain of salt, considering SoundHound went down 5+%. But moving over to the options, 4.9 million in calls, 1.7 in puts, 47% of all the options being done were optimistic in nature, and I feel like a lot of that did come from the first half of the trading day, so it is rather skewed. I would say that based on the second half of the day, which was factoring in the bonds, most of that is bearish. So again, take all that with a grain of salt, of course. But today you did see a lot of money through options. So 6.6 million in total premiums. Yesterday was 5.5. Day prior was 5.8. So somewhat in line with that. Based on the bulls, you do see a consensus for it to be around that 1050. And then for the bears, for it to be sub 950. So given everything, definitely I do see a lot more upside is anticipated, especially based on this. As I mentioned, a lot of big money was actually buying. So I think algorithmic trading was one of the biggest culprits on why SoundHound did go down. Dark pool was rather popular today. Dark pool is often enough used by shorts and other large entities. So let me know kind of your viewpoint on that in the comments below, but no real substantial transactions on the dark pool to kind of bring up. But with it closing at 946, trading between this S1 and S2, so 919 is going to be a strong support that you really want to watch for into the next couple trading days. 993 is going to be the next strong target. So just kind of watch for both of those as far as tomorrow. No new analyst ratings, as you can kind of see right here, just to give you a quick update. So last rating did come out 9 days ago. So nothing all that much, and most likely if they haven't given any ratings from their earnings, just anticipate pretty much their next earnings to be when you'll see some new ratings, unless something random comes up. But as far as random, I think you need a good fundamental change. So SoundHound does need to put out some news in some regard to really get some new ratings coming down the pipeline. And same goes for articles. No real articles coming out. Still, the ambulance chasers are pretty much putting out news every single day. So I kind of see that as rather desperate, but what do I know? On the actual chart itself, it did pretty much land on this 200-day moving average. So 942 is going to be another key kind of level to watch for. Then you have this, so the 50-day moving average at 919. That is going to be absolutely key. Every time, obviously, SoundHound does break below that or above that, it usually does result in like a 25 to 35% swing, roughly around that. So that is definitely going to be something to watch for in the next couple of trading days for it to really hold. If it does break below that 919, then anticipate a little bit more of a significant pullback, possibly into kind of the low 8s once again. So we'll just have to wait and see how everything does play out. But because of the recent pullback that has happened with SoundHound, stochastic RSI is now kind of reset itself. So it is rather kind of neutral / oversold. So that's kind of a good thing. So we'll wait and see tomorrow if big money does really buy up obviously SoundHound and the broader market. Tomorrow we do have a couple big data points to watch for. So existing home sales, and then the typical kind of Thursday stuff. So initial jobless claims. You also do have the global composite PMI flash. So forecast on that is 50.4. 50 is a very big kind of key pivot for that data point. So we'll just have to essentially wait and see what does come. But most likely tomorrow you are going to hear a lot about Powell and how Powell really needs to cut rates to pretty much save the market. So that might be starting up or even after hours. I haven't really checked social media that much, but I'm sure that is going to be a very hot topic into the next couple trading days. So let me know your thoughts on the broader market. Did you buy anything? Did you sell? What's your general viewpoint on, for instance, that 20-year bond? Do you think it is just a momentary type of thing? I think in reality that the writing was on the wall that there wasn't going to be that much demand, because with the whole trade kind of scenario going on with China was one of the biggest countries in the world, aside from, I believe it is Japan, that was buying US debt. And so at the end of the day, they probably put a substantial pause on that. So this is why there was no demand. So I think the States really does need to repair their kind of agreements and definitely reach out to China and make sure everything's a-okay, because I think the States doesn't necessarily realize it, but they do really need a lot of those countries on a global scale to buy American debt, because now Trump, that puts him in a kind of a tough scenario because he has to refinance the American debt in August. And if it does stay anywhere remotely to these kind of yields, the States is going to be very screwed. It's going to really impact them for many, many years. So it's going to be a little bit of a sticky scenario. And I think that's why a lot of institutions maybe were kind of throwing up the red flags today, because they're kind of foreseeing all that. So long story short, enough of me ranting, but let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point and bangers, even analyzing options. A lot of my day trades today, despite the pullback, absolutely hit, calling some 25 plus kind of swings today. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.